Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to our show.
Good morning, Vietnam. And
No, we're not in Vietnam.
Whoever else might be listening.
Well, good morning, Vietnam, but we are not in Vietnam.
We're swimming with the manatees?
No, we're not swimming with the manatees. Oh. But we are at Kennedy Space Center today.
Oh, perfect topic then. We're going to talk about the budgetary restraints of space travel. And if it's worth going back to the moon.
Well, have we ever been?
Have I totally stumped you or what? But do you have an opinion on whether or not it's worth going back to the moon?
My real question is, have we ever been?
Well, yeah, not according to Fox, apparently.
According to a lot of people, there's a conspiracy on that, you know.
Yeah, of course there is.
Do you think we've
been
to the moon?
That would just be
How
silly.
do you know?
No one can say for sure.
Not even your hairdresser?
Except for the people that have been there and the thousands of people that worked on the program.
And do you think they lied?
I would be surprised, because all of them would have to be in on it.
They could be sworn to secrecy. They do work for the government, you know.
That doesn't mean anything. Swearing somebody to something doesn't mean anything.
I just wonder, why do they think we didn't go to the moon?
Well, that's the trouble with the conspiracy theories, is every once in a while you find out that they were keeping something from you.
I know, but
that strengthens the conspiracy theory.
Of course, but why do they think? Because other things that they found out about, like the UFOs?
Nearly impossible. Because it's such an incredibly complex and difficult task. And they didn't want to be demonstrated to be failures. So, I mean, it does sort of carry a little bit of water to say, you know, that they would fake something like that because they didn't want to demonstrate that they couldn't. But we didn't just go once. We went a bunch of times.
Right.
Yeah.
But we only walked on the moon once.
No, we walked a bunch of times. We even drove around on it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the little rover?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We played golf on it. And when I say we, I mean a couple of other guys.
Yeah, you mean collectively.
Yeah.
You tried to associate yourself with some astronaut.
Somehow
you're connected because you're an American.
Somehow I'm connected because I'm an American, which is a false category, of course.
That's okay. It's a patriotic viewpoint.
It's also arrogant on my part to suggest that I had something to do with it. It's like when my team wins a football game. It's like I had something to do with it.
Well, you know, you were the fan. You did watch.
It was pretty incredible, and it is an amazing achievement for all of humankind.
So you think we went?
Absolutely.
You don't think there's a conspiracy theory on that? But you missed the whole opening on the UFO one, because I said the conspiracy theory on the UFOs in the 50s at Roswell. You totally missed
40s.
It. Oh, it was the 40s?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. I'm dating myself. Wait a second. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
I don't even know the right date. How could I date myself?
I'm not dating anyone.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure
special?
of the date anymore.
I'm not even seeing anybody ordinary. I love that line. I had a reason to use it.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
You just did.
I didn't invent it.
Oh, who did? You better give credit.
I don't recall.
Aha.
Yeah,
plagiarism.
I read so much and I learn so much. I don't always know where I get stuff from.
So, since we are at the Kennedy Space Center today, and we are going to be talking about, maybe we can talk about the budgetary cuts, and if they're necessary, and
if it's even worthwhile to have a presence in space. I mean, what's the point of that? What do we get? What do we garner from that? The billions of dollars spent just throwing stuff up in the air. Well, what's the point of that?
One thing I think that we have garnered from space exploration is knowing that it's possible, and also knowing how small we are comparatively and what really truly is out there, even though it's very hard for us to measure or quantify. It kind of makes us a little bit smaller. And also, I think what has occurred is we've started to realize the space that's inside, you know, not only what's exploration on the outside, but also understanding the space that's on the inside of us. I think that juxtaposition helps us.
I'm sorry, did you say juxtaposition?
I did, and let's see.
I like it. No, I like it because it sort of defines the word at the same time as you're saying it. Juxtaposition. I like it.
Do I need to make a new dictionary for a couple of words that I might make up?
I like it a lot.
What was I supposed to say?
You mean for that word, or what the issue was?
No.
Juxtapose is the word.
Oh.
Which is placing things side by side for the purpose of comparison.
Oh, okay.
So juxtaposition.
Yeah, juxtaposition. That's okay. I made up a word.
Cut out the middleman and just say what we mean. I like it.
I make up words a lot, though. You already know that.
Well, because you have to.
But that is called a living language.
You got big ideas. You got to expand the vocabulary to fill them.
Let's read about the Kennedy Space Center for just 1 second. It's in Cape Canaveral, Florida, USA. Even the most blasé visitor becomes transfixed with pride and patriotism at the Kennedy Space Center, a living monument to America's indomitable will and technology prowess.
Technological prowess?
Oh, yes, it would be good if I learned how to read as well.
That's okay. Those are a lot of difficult words.
Those were big words for me.
Those are a lot of difficult words.
And I never read them before, so.
Those are a lot of difficult words there.
Set amid 150,000 acres of marshland and mangrove swamps. This has been the headquarters of American rocketry and space exploration since 1950, when Bumper 8 was launched from the Cape. So it's been here for a while.
Bumper?
That's Bumper 8.
Huh.
It's called Bumper 8.
Never heard of that.
And
must have been some rocket they were testing.
In 1950. We went to the moon, 1962?
9.
69?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
62 is when Kennedy said, let's do it.
Oh, 62 is when he gave approval to do that.
When he gave a speech.
Saying that we are going to go to the moon.
Let's do it.
Okay.
And we actually did it in 69. I think it was the summer of 69 when we actually did it.
Well, this is where Alan Shepard lifted off in 1961 to become the first American to be sent into space, where the first men left for the moon in July 1969 aboard Apollo 11, and where the crew of the ill-fated Space Shuttle Columbia left the Earth in January 2002. And, of course, security is a lot tighter now than before September 11th because of how lucrative this has been for us. But really, how lucrative has it really been for us?
Well, lucrative is the right word you're looking for.
Hasn't it been?
What do you mean? You don't mean lucrative.
No, I know.
Lucrative is profit.
Right.
From an endeavor.
Right. Are we not profitable?
Materially.
Are we not profitable in this endeavor?
No. The space program
just sucks us dry.
Is sucking us dry.
And what do you think we gain?
Well, part of it is national pride, which is a big deal to some. It doesn't mean much to me. And also technological dominance. There are what's called what's the word? It's when technology spills over into the private sector, like some plastics, some medicines, rocketry in general. The government spends a great deal of money investigating stuff, and then shares that technology with the private sector, and the private sector can profit from it.
We don't profit from it, though.
It's like the internet. The internet itself was a function of the Department of Defense in their attempts to communicate with each other. And I forget what it was originally called, but what was my point?
Was it not through a university when they were doing that? It
was connecting universities. The Department of Defense connected universities. They originally connected computers, and then universities began doing it because universities are a research hub as well. So the question becomes, is it worth it? Is the money we spend
Do we
in
not
NASA,
profit? I thought we profited from our technology. I thought we profited from it with other countries that wanted to know certain things so they could also then do this same type of endeavors. I really did think that, of course, we spent the money, and it is a huge drain on our government and our taxes. But I also thought that we profited from it. No?
Well, it wouldn't. You can't have both. If you're profiting, then it's not a huge drain.
Well, if at first it is,
you're not talking about a financial profit.
I'm talking. Well, I am saying that as we invest in it, once we have went to the moon, do we not?
Where would the money come from?
Other countries to have that technology, as well as spaceships, or like the shuttle, for example, that actually is a returning ship, rather than something that will not return and then just be wasted after the trip.
Just because part of the ship comes back doesn't mean it's not a huge cost to send it up there.
No, I know
It's
that it
still a
is. I'm
huge
saying
cost.
the technology of
and
that.
Parts of it don't come back.
But the technology of that, is that not something that we sell to other countries?
There's no other country on the planet that has a shuttle. I mean, if you're talking about launching satellites, that is something that we charge for. But many countries are launching their own now as well. China,
but because
China,
of our technology, though, and they
don't
bought it
pay
from
us
us.
for it.
Oh, they did not.
No.
Oh, they don't pay
No.
us for the information.
No.
Oh, okay.
They either take it surreptitiously, they either steal it or spy it, or develop it on their own.
Mm-hmm. After we've developed it.
Yeah.
Looking at what we've done and seeing how it can happen.
Yeah, but the Russians...
So it's just an advancement of man's information.
That's
space exploration.
Yeah, it's the advancement of man's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But
has it helped us?
I mean, that's the question. That's what we're discussing. Has it helped us, and is it worth the investment?
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's quite a large investment, is it not?
It's a huge investment, billions and billions of dollars,
and we're very well supported.
What do you mean?
I just think that there's a lot of people who support it. I don't think there's a lot of people against it. Even though we have homeless and
agree with you.
Bad education and bad health care, all the things that really are
at
home.
Would the money be better spent on health care for everyone?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, just because we're in this. I do like that we went to the moon and saw what's there. I do like the idea that we've sent satellites and other explorative rockets to other planets to see what they're made of or to see what they look like, because I think it gives us an idea that we're quite tiny comparatively
we are quite
to
tiny.
what the universe truly holds, and we don't really have a clue of what that is. And without having that information or going there, would we have ever known that? So that in itself is a huge education, not even just for me, but for all of us. But would the money be better spent at home in a different way?
Our puniness is demonstrated with telescopes, not with robots landing on Mars, because even Mars is in our very near neighborhood compared to the universe.
Oh my God, yes, because what? It's just a planet next to us.
It's just a planet right next to us.
And we can't barely even go there.
And our farthest, our solar system is about 3.5 billion miles around. That's the orbit.
And how do we know that?
We can measure them against the background of stars. We can actually measure the orbit, and we create a model for how big things are.
And do we know that's for sure real? Just like in the old times when...
Again, we're not dealing with possibilities because anything is possible. We're dealing with realities.
But is it a real reality? Because they used to think that the world was flat with what they could see.
But they based that on nothing.
With what they could see.
Right.
That was what they based it on. And now what we can see...
They had nothing. They had nothing, though. They had no instruments. They had their eyes, and that was it. Mm-hmm. They didn't even have the written word when they thought the world was flat. Mm-hmm. And actually,
they didn't have the written word.
They didn't. Most people didn't think the world was flat. There's a Greek that lived before Jesus who actually calculated the size of the earth, and they already knew it was round. This idea that they thought the world was flat isn't really true. They didn't know what was out in the oceans, and they knew that the oceans were an incredibly dangerous place because there was no way to map them, and it was very dangerous. People leave and never come back. But they didn't have satellites. They didn't have communication systems. They didn't have...
Would we have had them without our space exploration?
They didn't have clocks.
But would we have had satellites without our space exploration, perhaps? Because satellites have tremendously changed our...
It's one thing to put a satellite into space at 300, 400, 500... even 1,000 miles. It's something else entirely to actually go to the moon and land on the moon. And
how far is the moon?
240,000 miles. And we haven't been back there since the 70s because there's nothing there. And there's
even on the backside of the moon where everybody says there's a whole colony.
Everybody says that?
Everyone. Don't you people hear that too?
Everyone I talk to. Clearly there's nothing there.
Why clearly? Why clearly? I just want to make sure.
Because we did go up there.
Yeah.
And because we do have satellites in space.
How do you know there's
now.
not a conspiracy?
I don't know that.
Okay,
and we're back to the problem with conspiracy theories is every once in a while you find out that they were lying to you.
Yeah.
It does happen.
But it's pretty unlikely that there's any colony on the backside of the moon.
Pretty unlikely.
You don't think there's a space station up there that we've been preparing?
An American one?
Yeah.
No, that's pretty unlikely.
Because if we had a space station up there and we were doing that, it would behoove everyone to know about it for the funding. The funding of that in itself, the sheer accomplishment of something like that.
The government does have secrets. I mean, there's a lot of defense stuff that's going on. There's a lot of satellite technology that is secrets.
Why?
Because they don't want the general population to know, because that would interrupt their ability to spy.
Oh, because it's about spying on the other countries for our security. Supposedly for our security, but, hopefully that's what they're doing it for. Hopefully. I mean, that's what they're saying. That's in the name of that.
Right. National security. Mm-hmm. Right. Which is a huge fund and a huge budget. Mm-hmm. And a huge chunk of our tax money goes to the government, which surreptitiously hides a bunch of stuff from us and says we're doing it to protect you guys.
Do you believe them?
Not 100%.
Do you think they're lining their pockets then, and that's it?
Not, and that's it. I do think they're lining their pockets, but I don't think that's it. I think that much of what they do is in this pursuit of protecting America, because, well, if we're attacked, then we're going to all be really upset.
Or die.
And, dead people can't pay taxes. So, it's like that old line from Ghostbusters where he's trying to convince the mayor to do something about what he's claiming to be a real threat. I mean, it was ghosts. But Bill Murray says, you have an opportunity here to save the lives of millions of possible voters. And that's the nature of democracy, is that the government does have to answer to the people. So the goal is to protect the people who vote and pay taxes, because you need those two people in order to stay in power. And that's the fundamental difference between democracy.
You need those two things, voters and
what
taxes.
Did I say?
I don't know, those two people.
I said people? I meant things.
Yeah. You meant things.
Yeah.
Because they need
voters and taxpayers.
Yeah, because a voter hopefully is a taxpayer. And
ideally.
It could be one person, ideally.
Ideally, yeah. But there's a lot of low-income people that vote that don't pay taxes.
Or don't pay hardly any taxes. They pay the tax and then they get it back at the end of the year.
There are some people that don't pay any taxes.
How's that?
The working poor. But they still pay sales tax. And
they pay other kind of taxes.
Yeah, they pay other kinds of taxes that go to local services.
Kind of jumping subject here. Do you believe in income tax?
Do I believe it's necessary? I think is what you're asking me.
Do you believe
it certainly exists, so that's not what you mean.
Do you believe it's necessary?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes. The government is incredibly bloated, and there is so much bureaucracy, and there's so much opportunity to cut waste, but the government has no incentive to cut waste. The way that people get elected is to make promises, and you have to make all kinds of bizarre promises. And then you have to fulfill those promises. Then you either have to raise taxes to fulfill the promise, or you have to break the promise. And if you break the promise, you don't get elected again. So the system is corrupt. The system is money driven. You and I have talked about the income tax before. You say it's unconstitutional, and I told you they amended the Constitution. They changed the Constitution to make it legal. So, and that's what they've done, and that's where it stands. The system is corrupt. And there's certainly a huge opportunity to cut waste, but the decision makers have no incentive to cut waste.
Do you think it's necessary to have income tax? And I don't like that amendment, by the way.
Well, I was trying to answer the question in more of a philosophical sense, because clearly it is necessary because it is happening. In order to pay the way. For the government to pay its way, it needs to take money from me and millions of other people.
Why don't we just make drugs legal?
And tax those?
Yeah.
Well, some of them are. Tobacco, alcohol.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Do it all.
All those antidepressants.
Do them all.
All that stuff is taxed. And I agree with you. I mean, we spend billions of dollars fighting those drugs.
So we don't have to fight them anymore, and then we would get money from them.
We need to treat it as a medical problem instead of
Agreed.
A police problem.
Agreed. Well, because we spend so much money on the police, and it's really sad. I had 4 policemen just basically standing on the side of a road the other day, just pulling people over for supposedly not doing 25 miles an hour in a when children are present zone. And there were no children present.
School zone, it's called.
It was a school. Well,
school
when
zone.
Children are present. It doesn't say school zone on it. It says when children are present, 25 miles an hour. And there was no children present. So it's like a school zone. You could know that there'd be a time. And you could pick a time. Hey, school is between 8 and 4. and then it's going to be that. If it truly is.
You'd like something a little more clear.
Yeah,
a
well, a lot more clear, and also not to have 4 policemen standing there when supposedly we have a policeman shortage, and they could be going and finding somebody.
Well, Kennedy Space Center doesn't have a policeman shortage.
Okay, then. Okay, we totally diverted. We'll get back to the space program that we were talking about. What do you think has occurred since we've went to the moon? What advantages do you think as human beings have received? What advantages have human beings received since we went into space?
I think your real question is what benefit have we seen from the space program that we could not have gotten any other way?
Agreed.
Is that a reason? Is that a better way to phrase the question?
You asked the question much better than me.
Well, since I asked the question, you want to answer it?
No. I actually wanted to find out what you thought.
Well, this is the challenge with any decision-making process, is you don't know what the consequences would have been in the absence of what's already taken place. I forget who I was watching. It was a politician, but he's also a doctor. Oh, it was Howard Dean this morning. And they have a phrase in medicine called the retrospectoscope, which is where you look back and think how you could have done things differently.
Okay.
And that may serve a purpose if you're going to make a similar decision in the future. But as far as most decisions, you can't undo them. So you can examine the mistakes you may or may not have made, but you can't undo those things.
Right. And
they were talking about why Howard Dean didn't get elected and what the Democrats could have done differently to get John Kerry elected. Mm-hmm. So that's when he brought that up. Howard Dean is also a doctor. And he said, in medicine they have a phrase called a retrospectoscope, something like that.
Retrospectoscope.
Spectroscope.
Retrospectoscope.
Which is retrospective,
okay.
Which is where you look back on the past. And you can examine it all you want, but you can't change it. And for the most part, even examining it is pretty much a waste of time.
It's a waste of time because it's not a learning endeavor.
Because you can't change it. Well,
you can't change it, but can you use those items to create a learning curve for yourself to say, next time when I'm up against that situation, I could maybe do this create other possibilities.
Here's the thing with time is you will never be up against the exact same situation again.
No, but maybe similar.
Time doesn't, but if there's some change in the circumstances, you have to make a whole new decision. And there is always a change in the circumstance.
Well, that is one thing for sure that happens.
Everything is similar. Everything is different. The new decision that you make in the future is fundamentally different. There's an expression, I've heard it 1,000 times. Okay, maybe not that many.
100?
Probably not even that many, but maybe close. 2? More than 2.
Okay.
Less than 100, more than 2.
Okay.
One of the definitions
25.
of it, could be. One of the definitions of insanity is behaving the same way and expecting a different result. But all behavior is different because it's a different time, it's with different people, it's in different circumstances. So you never really do behave the same. So often there is a different result. So you're saying by looking at the past and examining your past behavior, you can't make yourself better for the future? I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm talking about external behavior, not internal process. I'm talking about doing something in the future that is the same as what you've done in the past, and you very may well have a different result because the external circumstances are different. Okay. Because the people you're dealing with are different. They have changed. The time is different. Okay. The time has changed. I mean, if you do something in the 50s that you would get killed for. Like saying, one of the bad words. Right. Or put in jail. Put in jail. Not now. Right. But now you say the same words. It's like an adjective. And you're a superstar. Yeah, it's an adjective. And you need to even say those words in order to have any street credibility. So external circumstances change constantly, and that's the nature of time. Time is linear. It's always moving forward. People are changing. Circumstances are changing. My time's kind of non-linear. Your time is non-linear? Is it circular? You keep coming back? Oh, yeah. Are you 16 again? In my mind. I like non-linear time. Well, the human experience of time isn't reality. The human experience is not reality.
But the human experience is linear of time.
No. Time is linear. The human experience of time is all over the frickin' place. Because that's the human experience. The human experience is all over the frickin' place. I'm sorry, the place. I can say that now.
Freaking is just such a nicer way to say it. It's a better way to say it.
Yeah. You know, those guys behind us, when we went into the restaurant, they were swearing, just like normal guys do. And I must really be old, because it was a little offensive to me.
You're like, hey, we're in a public restaurant.
Yeah, don't swear. There's no need for that.
Sometimes it's the only word you can get across.
Oh, hey,
a certain point.
Sometimes it is your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've crushed my thumb and sworn and felt good about it.
Makes you feel better.
Other times when I've had a dispute with someone and I've needed to express myself in no uncertain terms, certain words, they have the impact you're looking for, and frickin' doesn't have the same impact.
No.
Right.
Sometimes it does, when it's just
it's
mildly used.
Yeah, it's said, in a much softer way. But there are times when
there's only one word that can describe something.
It's the right word.
But talking about words, we were getting back to the
retrospectroscope.
Yeah, we were getting back to that.
Oh. And about learning from your past. It is important to examine your behavior and learn from your past. But you can do the same thing with someone else and have a completely different experience.
That's true, because depending on the person or the people or the time.
And that's my point, is that external circumstances change.
But then let's get back now to time being linear, and then human beings experience them in a nonlinear fashion. And when I say in a nonlinear fashion for me, it's because when I dream, I'm in a whole other world.
Absolutely.
And
the human experience of time is nonlinear. Time itself is linear, but the human experience...
But are we sure that time is linear? Or is it only something that we've made up for us to exist when we're awake here, for us to be able to have some common ground with each other?
Time exists externally of the human experience. And I say that knowing that I have nothing else but human experience. And this is one of the challenges with understanding things, is that you must be superior to something in order to understand it.
Can we be superior to time?
We are in a different realm than time, but we can understand time. We can't understand where it goes or where it comes from, but we can certainly directly experience its passing, and we can understand
in a linear fashion.
We can.
But then when we go to sleep,
in both ways,
it's a very nonlinear realm.
We can experience its passing in both ways, even when we're awake. The human experience of time is nonlinear, even when we're awake.
You mean like sometimes when it goes really slow?
Sometimes it seems to go really slow.
And then sometimes it's really fast. Like when you're having fun, it goes like really fast. Right. I must be having a blast because my life's just flashing before me now.
Well,
or is that just because I'm getting older?
It has to do with getting older.
Why is that change?
Well, because when you're 10 and a year goes by, that's 1/10 of your life. When you're 40 and a year goes by, that's 1/40th of your life.
And it just keeps increasing.
Right. So it's a much smaller chunk of your experience. That's why a year seems so much faster now.
Because it seems like it was just last Christmas.
It does. And it seems like I was just 25.
Seems like I was just 12.
Seems like I was just an embryo.
Do you remember being an embryo?
Wait, I've gone too far.
Okay, I was going to say.
I have a tendency to do that. I tend to go too far.
I'm like, wow, man, you have a good memory.
I don't remember anything more than a couple of weeks ago, so
Uh-oh.
I don't even try.
There's too much information?
Yeah,
is that why?
There's too much to know.
Do you think that the human mind doesn't have the capacity to remember everything? Is that why you don't try?
Let me rephrase that. Let me turn the question back to you.
Okay.
With the other extreme.
Because I remember
with the other extreme.
A lot.
Do you think the human mind is capable of remember everything?
I do.
What was the license plate number on your Corolla? You knew it at one time, didn't you?
Actually, no.
You'd seen it.
I've seen it.
You've looked directly at it. It should have made an imprint on your mind, but it didn't. But it also was something that
was not important to me to remember.
My point exactly.
Oh, so it becomes. So we pick what's important for us to want to remember.
We don't always pick. The human mind is very limited in its capacity to recall information accurately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People don't understand that.
I thought we were like more computer-based that way.
We're not. We're
just big bags of water?
Soup.
Just big bags of chemical water.
We're bags of water. Whether we're small or big is a relative term.
Aha.
But we certainly are bags of water.
And oozy, gooey bags of water,
Don't get me started on how icky we are.
I want to know why we stink. I know we were at the space. We're at the space program,
the stuff that
and
comes
now,
out of your nose.
Have you seen the stuff that comes out of your body?
Well, I wasn't going to go anywhere else.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah, I have to clean my
nose. Was the cleanest thing that you had coming.
It was the ickiest clean thing I could think of.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to clean my nose every day. I don't know about you.
Of course.
Every day I have to clean
2 or
my
3
nose.
times sometimes.
I have hairs coming out of my ears I can't keep up with. I have to clean my ears on a regular basis too.
Wow. Doesn't everybody?
Well, I wear earplugs.
Oh.
On a regular basis at work.
Because
so if I use those earplugs without cleaning my ears, the earplugs get nastier much quicker. Other people may not have that reference.
Doesn't everybody clean their ears once a day?
No.
Really?
A lot of people don't clean their body once a day.
You're kidding.
Well, you didn't know that?
No, only homeless people, as I thought, that they didn't get to take baths, because I just would think that everybody in life would, if they have the opportunity, if they have a bathtub or a bath or a shower, that they would be in it once a day.
That's the key phrase right there, if they have a bathtub or a tub or a shower.
That's what I'm saying.
There's billions of people all over the world who don't have that.
Billions?
Yeah.
Wow. Are they all homeless?
No.
Well, where do they live?
Without
a shower. In
the dirt? I mean, the idea that, this has to do with cultural reference.
Mm-hmm.
And being an American,
we're just cleaner.
In the late 20th century, we have conveniences.
Like a bath and a shower.
That most of the world doesn't have.
Like water.
And still doesn't have. Like clean water.
Clean water's dang good.
Clean, hot water coming out of a hole in the wall isn't normal.
Pretty great.
It's a pretty great
That's
not a baseline standard. It is. It's absolutely incredible. Clean, hot water coming out of a hole in the wall. And
how did we get so
plumbing,
smart and that be so stupid still?
Well, we have tremendous capacity for creativity. And
is that the yin and yang of us?
Well, yin and yang is a little larger concept.
I'm talking about the stupidity and the intelligence. We have the utmost intelligence, I think, and then we have
compared to what?
Any other animal?
Compared to other animals.
Maybe, or any other living thing that I know of on this planet.
That you know of.
That I know of.
Yeah. And that's the challenge that you know of.
Isn't that why we do the space exploration?
Yes, because we're incredibly curious and we want to know stuff. We just want to know everything.
But isn't that the yin and yang? Isn't that like the most... I mean, that's what we were talking about. Is like we're ultimately so intelligent, and then yet we do really stupid things like kill each other over land and money and things that I just have a...
Well, see, you group all humans together, and then you say that as a species we're very intelligent and we're very stupid. I see people as individuals.
Not as a group.
I do see people as a group, but a group is an artificial category.
Because all of humanity is not equal.
Right, in all categories.
Even though we are equal as far as our rights, not equal in our abilities.
Right. We're not equal in our talents, in our skills, in our abilities. We're not equal. We're very different. Some people are very hostile and angry. Other people are very passive and calm. Some people are very technical-oriented. Some people are very social-oriented. There's a tremendous disparity in education and mood and one's willingness to compromise. We also learn different things from different cultures. Different cultures produce different types of people. I mean, somehow the religious, fundamental Islamist terrorists, they've convinced people that if you go kill innocent people, you'll be rewarded forever in heaven. I mean, how do you convince somebody of that? That is mind-boggling to me, and that's a function of ignorance. Ignorance on the part of the person they're convincing.
Or their education, or lack thereof.
Well, education is...
Because that is their education. That's why they've been brainwashed or talked into that this is the way they've been programmed and initiated into that religious sect or culture,
and that's
or however they grew up in their social.
I'm firmly convinced that the Christians would still be killing people if they could get away with it, if they were still in charge. They would still be killing people who dispute their faith.
Because they're afraid?
Because that's what they've always done. Because that's what power does. And that's how power stays in power. I read a fascinating article about the difference between a democratic system and a dictatorship. And the specific issue was Yasser Arafat. Do you know who that is?
Didn't he just recently pass?
He did just recently pass. Mm-hmm. He was the leader of the Palestinian people, but he was also a dictator. And a dictator stays in power by killing its enemies. A democratic leader stays in power by finding compromise. And it's a huge fundamental difference in the way that the power structure stays in power.
By killing.
The dictator has to kill people, has to control the media, and has to kill people. And that's what Yasser Arafat did. He was as brutal to his own people as the Israelis are. The Israelis are...
Why was he so well respected in the United States?
He wasn't respected. He was tolerated, and he was communicated with because he was the only representative of the Palestinian people that we thought could control terrorism. And
but
he didn't.
Was he not a terrorist himself? He sounds like one.
He was a terrorist himself. That's how he came to power, by being a murderer.
Isn't that how a lot of emperors in the past?
Absolutely. If you and the kings, absolutely. Thomas Paine says if you follow any bloodline from a king back through history, you will find the leader of a gang of thugs.
Do you think there's a possibility for humanity to not have that type of leadership? And
I mean, power is respected. And that's just the way it is. Power is respected. Whether it's power derived at the end of a gun or the power derived at the end of a ballot box. People in charge are respected. And if you don't respect them, they kill you. So very quickly, it's a social Darwinism effect. Very quickly, the people who try and dispute the power cease to exist.
Because they'll get killed?
Because they get killed.
Does that mean we are going to be killed?
We live in a different system. Our founding fathers created a system that requires compromise, not destruction.
But yet we are destroyers.
Are we?
Are we not still?
As individuals, we are. But as a country, we're not. We're not
thought of as that way in other countries.
It's because the people have been educated wrong. They've been lied to by their leaders. The easiest and the most effective way to unite a people
is to find a common enemy.
And the Americans, as the only remaining superpower, are an easy enemy. It's easy to blame others. We blame foreigners for our problems.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
With the collapse of the healthcare system and the struggles with the economy and
Is that the foreigners'
overburdening of the... Many people blame immigrants for that.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, I actually did not know that. I thought we were a country based on that, and if in fact there is too many immigrants, then we shouldn't be letting them into our borders.
It's not up to us whether or not they come. We can't seal the border.
That's why we have passports for people to come in.
It's physically impossible to seal the border.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why we have, regulations and rules of who comes in.
I'm talking about illegal immigrants.
Oh, you're talking about illegal.
Yeah, certainly we can control legal immigration, but that doesn't keep people from coming across the border.
Of course, illegally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then how about working in this country?
What about them?
Well,
they do.
How do they affect our system, though, because they're not legally able to really maneuver through our system? How can that be the collapse of our health care? I just don't see the connection. And perhaps you can enlighten me on that.
There is a law that says emergency rooms can't turn people away, whether they have an ability to pay or not. So when there's a medical emergency, whether they're illegal, legal, foreign, domestic, they get treated. That's the law.
Okay. And
that system is paid for by taxpayers.
But that system is overburdened because of the illegal immigrants?
I'm not saying that.
That just seems very far-fetched to me. I'm not saying that it's not impossible.
Do you remember why our sister got out of nursing?
She got tired
of being yelled at in other languages.
No, that's not, she never told me that.
Oh,
she just got tired of thought of cleaning up the blood and the shit.
Oh.
And that it was really hard work.
Well,
She was in the ER.
She was in the ER for a while, and she actually got tired of being yelled at in other languages. That was one of the issues, but also because it's overwhelming to clean up the crud.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I consider being a doctor, but I hate the sight of blood.
That wouldn't work
That
out
wasn't
too
gonna
good.
work very well.
No, because human beings bleed.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what we do when we're sick
Yeah.
or not well or something goes bad.
Yeah.
We've really gotten off the topic a little bit in some respects, but not really, because we're really talking about our government spending, and talking about exploration and education as well.
Right.
Really dealing with the space.
And the challenge with education is, one, to take responsibility for your own, and two, to undo your cultural references.
And that's very difficult for a lot of people, because there's a lot of pressure from society and the culture within their within the microcosm
community,
within their, I was thinking their family, because I just wanted to even go to the smaller level, just even within their family. We can just talk about it as a community as well, because that's also what helps socialize or bond people together, is having common ideals. Does it not?
And values.
And values.
Sure.
And then to go to question them, or to have thoughts differently, or to ask questions, or to even be able to have questions, because a lot of them won't have questions in that, and it'll be very dogmatic with, no, this is the answer, rather than actually being able to have dialogue about it.
Or even don't bother me with the questions.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't even come into their mind.
Right.
The question won't even come into their mind, because they're so just immersed in the dogma of their own socialism.
Their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
Socialism is an economic system. You meant society. Their own society. And
Okay.
even sub-society, their subculture.
Mm-hmm.
And all the way down to family. All the way down to their individuals, family, and friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain expectations. And if your parents are up, well, good luck, making your own way. Because your parents can't look out for you. Because they can't look out for themselves. There was a horrific crime just recently in Texas. A woman killed her baby. She had two other children. I think they were 10 and 8, and she had a new baby, and she killed her baby.
Why?
Who knows why?
Did she say?
She's crazy. She doesn't know why. I mean, what legitimate reason could she possibly have?
Not a legitimate reason. I just wondered if she had
Oh.
one.
Well, she's crazy, so I don't know that even if she says something, that we can trust that is the reason. Mm. It's like the woman that killed her children because God told her to. She was sending them back to God, in her mind. But of course, to the society, she's a baby killer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is people talk about a Christian society, and
Do we have one?
I don't think so. But Christianity is a huge part of our society. Thank God that our laws are based on individual rights. Christianity has no interest in individual rights. It's interested in its own power structure. And that's human nature, is to create a power structure and then try and fit into that power structure, or overthrow that power structure and institute your own. That's human nature, and human nature has good and bad in it. That's the yin and yang, the creative impulse and the destructive impulse.
The smart and the stupid.
Well,
that's what I call smart and stupid.
But those are relative terms.
Those are relative. I think the destructive part is actually stupid. However,
but you need destruction.
It's also necessary to be creative and
rebirth. You need death to have life. And that's the balance of the yin and yang issue. Mm-hmm. And smart is a relative term, and stupid is a relative term. And that's the challenge with language, is that people don't understand how sophisticated and how complex language is. It seems very simple to someone when they say, oh, he's smart, or oh, he's stupid. But those are very relative terms relative to the observer. Because everyone is smart in some ways. Everyone is stupid in some ways. I mean, I'm a genius in some ways, and yet in other ways I'm a stump. Really.
I don't
I have taken responsibility for my own education, and I've achieved something unique from my perspective in the way that I view things. And I've also found, and like I said before, the challenge with understanding something is to be superior to it. You can only understand something if you are superior to it. And so the challenge in trying to understand yourself is to find a way to be superior to yourself. And you and I have had this conversation before about detaching somewhat and having a part of you that is detached, even if you must watch your other parts of you go through your own human experience. You must create a part of you that is detached from the human experience in order to understand yourself. And that's really difficult.
Which is not easy to do.
Really difficult
because
to do.
Because we're very subjective creatures.
Absolutely.
We can only see from our own eyes of what's from the inside out. And many times, like what I see going on in my life, you would not see looking from the outside in.
Exactly.
You would see you would have a totally different experience of who I am.
My experience of you is a function of who I am. Mm-hmm. It really has very little to do with you.
But a tiny bit to do with
a tiny bit.
Because I'm an influence.
Right.
In that mirror or whatever.
You're a tiny influence.
Just a really tiny influence?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dang, like a little ant, huh?
We've talked about this before. You can't compare your insides to someone else's outsides. And even people who are beautiful and successful and rich, you might think they have a great life. And then they go and kill themselves because they're miserable inside.
Yeah, and it always baffles me.
That just shows you how different your idea of who they are
of their success
is from the reality of who they are. And you might have someone else who looks miserable to you, who actually has a great family, great friends, and is very happy in their lives. You can't tell by looking at someone what their inner life is like. And nature really does try everything. And to me, there will always be poor people. I don't think that's a solution that can be solved.
Is that just a function of what their desire is then?
No, I don't think that's their choice. I think that's just the circumstances of the human animal. I mean, we have bred ourselves silly. And there are more people on this planet now than the cumulative numbers of anybody who's ever lived. 100 years ago, there was 1 billion people on the planet. Now there's 6 billion.
Wow.
And that's the nature of the animals. The animal instinct is to breed to the limits of the environment.
And we're keeping people alive longer.
That should have died. That should have died as babies. We're keeping them alive. And
why do you think that is as human beings?
Because we want individuals to survive. Because we do have a sense of individual rights. And we do have a great deal of compassion for the individuals. But then there are other people who will slaughter you just for looking at them funny. So nature really does try everything.
I was actually thinking, I hear where you're coming from on the babies. I was thinking actually we're living longer as well. And I was told the other day that by the time I become 80, a little ways away, that people may actually live to 100, 150 very normally.
I agree with that.
And that is because of the medicine.
I agree with that
advancement of medicine and how to take care of the human body,
right? Which
is quite complex,
right?
But yet quite simple. Like if you don't drink, you don't smoke.
Don't jump out of airplanes.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe I guess you could jump out of airplanes as long as your parachute opens.
Oh, I'm sorry, a parachute. Yeah, that would be good.
That'd be good to have a parachute.
Yeah. I was going without the parachute.
Oh, okay.
Don't do that.
Don't do that part. But also knowing how to really, that collagen stops producing in your body after the age of 40 and replacing that
There's
with
all
collagen.
Kinds of things we're learning.
All those
about
types.
How to extend human life.
And it's quite fascinating.
And it's going to bankrupt the Social Security system.
Well, I think
we should take the funds from NASA and put them into Social Security.
Oh, really?
The perfect solution.
Is that the solution? I think Social Security supposedly is already bankrupt, isn't it?
Quit going into space and start saving the old people. Yeah. How about that? Why is this so difficult?
I do feel that our elders do hold some great information for us that I don't think that we tap as much. Some of them have lost their minds. Oh.
And some of them never took the time to educate themselves. Just because they're old doesn't mean they know squat. But some of them are still knuckleheads, just like they were when they were 30.
They could be knuckleheads, but having lived that long, don't they see cycles that might be different
again,
have
their individual experience is limited to their eyes and their ears and their mind.
Because Grandpa, he was not Grandpa.
I know who you meant.
Yeah, he was not very well educated, but a really wonderful man. I think.
But I think he was always like that. I think he was probably always kind and generous and compassionate.
Do you think? I don't think so, because that's not what I heard from Mom.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I think as he got older, I think he became wiser.
He became more appreciative
of certain things
his
in
family
life.
structure, and certainly more calm. Ideally, it does calm you down.
But also, he was very
you don't get
satisfied.
so worked up about individual circumstances because you recognize that those things change.
He was very satisfied in his. This is going to probably sound horrible, but menial life in my viewpoint when I was 16. I thought it was extremely menial because I felt that, I have inspirations and aspirations to do huge things, and I did when I was very young. So anybody that was very content with feeling satisfied, getting up, going to work, and coming home and eating dinner and watching TV and going to bed and then doing it all over again, I didn't understand.
Do you understand now?
No, although I'd like to. I think I think he was content. I think he was satisfied in his life. I think he looked forward to living.
Well, by the time you knew him, he was already an old man.
Yes, that's agreed. I did not know him when I was younger.
So you don't know what his aspirations were as a young man. You don't know what his dreams were.
It could have been that.
It could have been that. But also, this is a cultural issue. You grew up in a society that does aspire to great things, and he grew up in World War I, the Great Depression,
without phones, without television,
without automobiles or televisions or phones or mass media or magazines
or airplanes. And those were not things
that were even... So the expectation is completely different. I mean, it's
much
like
smaller scale.
It's like the son of a farmer. The son doesn't know there's a great big world out there. He sees his father farm. He becomes a farmer. That's all he knows. But now we have television and cable and telephones and music and newspapers and magazines.
Those telephones, they're great, aren't they?
They're amazing.
Cell phones, my favorite thing in the whole world.
Verizon,
I hope that you sponsor us.
I watch the news in the afternoons, and I see things that are going on halfway around the world. And if I
never need to really travel anymore because everything's on television as it is.
If I had lived 100 years ago, I would not have known anything that was going on halfway around the world.
You wouldn't have been able to. Well, unless you traveled.
But even then, I would be limited to what I actually experienced.
True.
I wouldn't have access to cameras.
True.
Or broadcast media or newspapers. Do you see the difference?
Oh yeah.
So there's a complete cultural change.
So you're saying my information
expectations of yourself
my information
are influenced by your information
was much different,
right.
And what his information input was
right. So, and he may have had aspirations. He may have been aware of soldiers or actors, what have you, and he may have had aspirations of those things.
I think he had an aspiration.
But there's no way for you to know.
No,
because he was already an old man by the time you met him.
Mm-hmm. He had aspirations to work until he died. That was one of his aspirations. He loved working.
As an old man.
Yes.
That was his aspiration.
Yes.
You don't know what his earlier aspirations were.
No, I don't because I didn't know him.
And you also don't know where you're going to wind up.
Well, that's true.
And that's the thing. And so you have to understand that your experience.
I really hope that there's Social Security still, though.
I'm hoping I don't need it.
What
I'm hoping.
What's going to happen? You're going to die before you're 65?
I'm going to have some money in the bank.
Oh. But you can still have money in the bank and still get Social Security.
I'm hoping I don't need it.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping I don't
because you are putting taxes into that.
I'm hoping I don't need the $800 a month the government's going to give me.
Oh, okay. You're hoping you have your own money coming.
I've got a little more money than that. I don't need the $800 a month.
Is that what they're giving a month?
No, I don't know what the numbers are.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the numbers are. It ain't much.
Okay.
Yeah, it ain't much.
So, how do we rate the space program? What's our rating?
A roaring success. But is it worth the investment?
That's my question to you.
That's the question.
Stop asking me the same question I'm asking you. Come on, mister. Give us the answer. What is it?
The greatest fool can ask questions
That's me.
That the wisest man cannot answer.
That's you.
Is that a good name for our show? The greatest fool and the wisest man.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. Can I be the fool? Can I be the fool?
I want to be the fool sometimes.
No, you have to be the wise man.
I don't have a problem with stupidity. Stupidity can be fun.
You must be the wise man. And I know about stupidity. Don't get me started on that.
It can be a lot of fun, stupidity. Gets you into situations that can be a whole lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And dangerous.
And the wise man will sit back and watch it all happen and pontificate about it, but he's not participating. That's the problem. So,
oh, well, we want you to participate, wise man.
A little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm tired, though.
Yeah. It's because you're heavy lifting.
I can't stay out late.
I'm sorry, I can't party late tonight, kids.
I can't go.
Well, you get up so dang early.
I know, it's killing me.
Well, I want to know why. I know this is a total change of subject, because we agree that the space program is totally worth it, or we agree that
we do.
I'm.
You're asking? You're forming the question.
Yeah, I'm double questioning.
I thought you were answering the question.
I might be double questioning you.
Wait till you're done to be. See? Okay.
To say for sure.
Okay.
Nobody knows for sure.
Nobody knows for sure.
Your hairdresser
and that's the
does.
challenge of making a decision is you don't know how it would have been without having made that decision.
So do we agree?
So we don't know what the world would look like without the space program.
Would there be satellites?
Exactly.
We don't know that.
We don't know.
Would there be? Well, there'd probably be cell phones, because cell phones are basically based on transmitters that are put on land anyway.
But the military and the space and the Defense Department and NASA.
Did they help develop cell phones?
They have helped develop all sorts of technology.
That helps us.
Right. That helps us as civilians.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So really, what do we say? Are we saying that yes, we agree? No, we don't?
I think there's an opportunity to trim a great deal of that budget. But again, the decision makers have no incentive to. Because you're going to cut their own money? That would be silly.
Because then they would be out of a job.
Right. And that's the same is true of senators, same is true of representatives,
How
same
can
is
the
true of
people
president.
this is the other, let's just talk about the government for one quick second. How can the people that are getting the money be the ones in charge of voting if they're going to get it or not? Like voting for their own raise. That has got to stop. How do we stop that?
Well, we would have to introduce a true and direct democracy.
That will be damn difficult, won't it?
It would be virtually impossible because,
Why?
again, it would require the cooperation of the decision makers.
That are in power.
And it would require the cooperation of the people who would be cutting their own throats.
And they'd be cutting their own throats.
Right. And this is the nature of...
We don't really have a true democracy. We have a...
representative republic.
Representative republic.
Right. And we do have many aspects of socialism in our...
I was going to say, I thought we were a little socialistic.
In our economic structure, we have many examples of socialism.
And that is considered more democratic.
It's considered more compassionate. It's
Why?
not considered democratic. Well, because, again, Social Security. That's not capitalism. That's socialism.
But it is nice to take care of our elders.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they've worked really hard and they're tired
Not
now.
all of them.
Okay. Well,
some of them have been bums
that,
their whole life, and now they're collecting a government paycheck.
Okay, besides those people, the ones that worked really hard, like me, because I know that I'm like a hard worker. You get tired when you get a little older.
Yeah.
I'm not as tired as you think.
Ooh.
And you're younger than me, so.
I'm tired, though.
Yeah. I have the energy like a young buck. Wait a second. That'd be a guy.
Like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, schoolgirl.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Skipping down the street. Skipping through the poppy fields.
Actually, the minefields.
Minefields?
I skip through the minefields, okay? La 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 la. La 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 la.
You don't get a second chance with landmine.
No, I miss them. That's why I'm la la line still.
Why are they going off then?
Something else triggered it.
Okay.
Something else.
Butterfly.
Yeah. Butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect. Yeah.
The wing of the span.
There you go.
Of the wing
I didn't see that movie. I don't know your point.
That basically wasn't from the movie, just so you know.
Well, then what are you talking about?
I was making stuff up.
Don't know.
I have no idea. I was making it up. But there is something about the wing of a butterfly.
I was winging it.
The air from the wing of the butterfly affects a person across the world. We just don't know it.
I see.
We just don't have the... we're not
cognizant
of it.
Yeah.
So we're in... Oh, I like it. Introspectoscope.
Retrospectoscope.
Oh, intra.
But I like introspectoscope.
I like intra. I was
as
thinking
well.
about intra because
That's
the
good,
retro
too.
is good, but the intra, because really I think that's the space exploration.
That's examining
really-
yourself. That's a self-examination of the introspectoscope. I
That's
like
a
that.
really important one. And I'm not saying it's all great almighty, but it's really good to look inside and see what the hell's going on once in a while and why you do certain things and question yourself.
What was the third step to personal enlightenment? A fearless and reckless examination of your own process.
And sometimes it's scary.
It is. It's terrifying to actually examine yourself. And
Although
most people don't like to.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's not fun.
You know what?
But
Actually,
it's very healthy.
It's very...
And ultimately very enlightening.
That's what I was going to say. It's very enlightening because really you're there anyway.
Most people aren't there.
No, but
most people aren't paying attention to their own
they're
process.
not paying attention to their process, but that
focused,
doesn't mean
they're
that
focused
they're
externally with
But that
judgment
doesn't mean
and
that they're
shame
not
and,
there. They're still there experiencing it, and without actually understanding what they're doing,
they don't understand it.
They don't understand it. If
Most
they
people
go
don't like
in
to think. They
and
don't
look at themselves.
Thinking's not fun.
Oh, thinking's fun for
Drinking's
me.
fun.
Drinking's not as fun for me.
Well,
maybe it's because I like to think. So maybe if you're a thinker, you're not a drinker. Is that how it goes?
I like it.
All right, people. Turn into thinkers rather than drinkers. Come on. Let's go to a thinking bar. I'm going to open up some thinking bars.
Prepare to go bankrupt.
Damn. They come on in and they say, give me some water and give me some quotes.
You know how to make a small fortune in Vegas? Start with a large one. Hey-o.
Boom.
So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Or think.
You can buy a man a book, but you can't make him think.
Or you can't make him read.
Exactly. If we agree, then why are we arguing?
But hopefully there'll be enough people like you and me. I think you like to think rather than drink as well.
It's not a function
I'm not
of
saying
whether,
that you don't like to drink.
It's not a function of whether or not I like it.
You just do it.
I just do it.
It's something programmed inside of you.
It's become a huge part of who I am. It's who I choose to be.
But it's also very wonderful for you at the same time, is it not?
Not necessarily. Ignorance is bliss.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never found ignorance to be that bliss because you're quite miserable sometimes, even in your bliss. You don't know why.
Well, what?
Yeah, that's what I say. What happened?
Who did what to who now?
Blissful can be missful.
Miserable.
I wanted to say missful, though, because it rhymed.
It's not a word, though.
Come on.
You're making up words. Missful.
Go with me.
Okay.
Go with me on this one.
Juxtacompare.
Yeah, I want to juxtacompare
and
it.
missful.
Come on, you're barking up the wrong animal with that one, baby. Just get used to it.
I am used to it.
Dan, it's been a pleasure talking to you from the Kennedy Space Center today in Florida.
Wait, I think I hear a rocket taking off.
And we probably have. We've heard of probably a couple rockets. Had probably a couple rockets today. And I don't think we've really uncovered whether we think that this is a great program or...
We didn't solve this one.
No. There is no solution.
We didn't solve this one.
Although dialogue about it and having good information and good conversation, so I really appreciate you you imparting your knowledge and talking about the space program. And
am I dying?
No.
Make it sound like I'm dying.
We're actually going to be going off the air in a second. We're going to be saying goodbye.
Oh, we're coming back though, aren't we?
Yeah.
Soon.
We'll come back. We always come back.
Maybe not today or tomorrow, but soon.
We always come back.
Yeah.
That is the one thing about us.
We're like the locusts. Might take 13 years, but we're coming back, damn
it. Did you have any final words about the space program since we started out here and talking about?
Buy U.S. bonds.
Really?
I don't know.
You don't necessarily believe that.
I got nothing to summarize.
You got nothing to summarize?
I told you I'm really tired.
He's been lifting heavy metal, ladies and gentlemen. You're all talked out now.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about a lot of different things. We've went round robin a lot of different things. We've come up with some new words today. And we've decided that we're going to open up a think bar.
There you go.
I'd like to see what that is. I'm going to work on that. And then all of a sudden, if they become a trend, know that I said it here.
Okay. I'll know.
Know that the brainchild started here.
Okay.
Well, from Kennedy Space Center, Have a super great day, everyone, or night.
Good night, everybody.